Okay, so now the fun really starts. We're gonna start installing the gauges. First we're gonna start by figuring out our layout, how we want them, where we want each gauge. So for that we're gonna go inside the truck. Alright, so we're in the truck and I've got my gauges set up the way that I think will work best for me. And I've got fuel pressure on top, power in the middle, and boost at the bottom. And I've went with this setup basically because when you're driving and you look at your gauges, the first thing you're going to see is your pyro. To me, that's the most important gauge that you need, and you need to have it where you can easily see it. So anyways, now what we're going to do is we're actually going to start the wiring. If you've seen any of my other videos where I wire anything, I don't like wiring, but it shouldn't be too hard. The instructions are pretty clear on what you got to do. So anyways, let's go and do that. Okay, so I've got my first part of the wiring done. Let me show you. Okay, so as you can see, we daisy chained our wires from the top down, and it looks great. It looks really neat. I left enough slack so that we can pull the gauges out if we ever need to. And for someone like me that doesn't like wiring, this is a great way to wire. It was super easy, super simple. The instructions they provided and the little tools made this job a breeze. So that's another thing that I really like about these gauges, and I really recommend that if you don't like wiring like I do, that you get them. So I'm going to show you what I've got done so far on the pillar mounts, on the gauge mounts. And so basically what I've done is on the truck's A-pillar, I took it off and I drilled out this 1/2-inch hole to be able to run my wires through it. And on the autometer, I drilled a hole on top right here and a hole at the bottom. So those two holes are going to be what are going to hold this thing in place with the original screws that this A-pillar came with. And you also got to drill a few more holes, 4 more holes actually to be exact. You got to drill a hole right there, one there, another one right there, and there. Well, actually, we can drill out these holes wherever we want to. I felt that that's the best place where it's going to hold this thing tighter. So yeah, you're going to use these little Christmas tree pins, clips that Autometer provides with the kit, with the pillar mount. So anyways, now that I've got these holes drilled out, we're going to go back into the truck. We're going to install this thing, and we're going to drill out these 4 little holes all the way through because they're still not in there. And the reason for that basically is because I want to make sure that this thing's going to fit exactly where I want it before I drill out these holes all the way through. So anyways, yeah, let's go back to the truck and get that done. Okay, so we're back in the truck and I've got this thing in place. I've got the top and the bottom holes in. And one thing that I did not tell you is that to do this last hole, once I had this in place with the top and bottom holes, I put this thing where it went, and I drilled straight through it with the 3/16 drill bit, which is what I used for all the other holes. And once I had that hole drilled, I threw the screw back in. It fit just perfect, like it should. And then after I had those 3 holes drilled in, I drilled through the pilot holes that I had told you about earlier. I drilled those all the way through, but we're not gonna put those Christmas tree pins in there yet. By the way, 3/16 for these 2. All of them are 3/16. So basically what we're going to do right now is take it back out so that we can do our wiring. Okay guys, so I've got my wiring for the gauges, like the power wire mostly figured out. So what I ended up doing for the wire is I tapped into one of the fuses for my switched power, my key on power. The ground, I hooked it up to my E-cable bracket. And the dimmer goes, oh man, it's gonna be hard to see. So that first wire you see right there, right at the corner, that's the wire for your dimmer. So what I ended up doing is just shoving the cable for the dimmer right in there, and it worked out great. The gauge dims like it should. So that's what I did. Now, like I said before, I'm not really good at wiring, so I really would encourage you guys to research this a little bit more to make sure that you're doing the right thing and tapping into the right wires. But so far it looks like what I'm doing is working. I'll let you know once everything's done how it worked out. Okay guys, so it's day 2 of this install, and I've got this thing torn apart. Let me show you. So last night I got all the wiring figured out for the power and the dimmer and the ground. And as you can see, we've got our harness already ran for that. I ended up tapping into the dimmer of the truck, which is this wire right there. It's going to be your white and blue wire on your light switch. So all I did is take out this whole instrument cluster. Your light switch is held on by those two screws. So you take those out, pull it out, and on the back, I just slid in my orange wire into the same slot that the blue and white wire is in, and everything seems to be working pretty good. On the fuse side, I tapped into one of my fuses over here. I tapped into fuse number 18, which is this one. So anyways, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually start running the actual sensors. Okay guys, so I just drilled and tapped my white pipe and installed the sensor. And I did have one little problem. Let me show you. Okay, so as you can see, I've got my sensor in the white pipe right there. When I first took it out, I didn't really take into account the fuel bowl. So I actually ended up drilling 2 holes. The first one, as you can see, is down there. I put a plug in it, and I ended up doing the hole a little bit higher. But yeah, the new hole turned out great. It cleared the fuel bowl perfectly. It's got more than enough room. And I ended up running my wire straight up across the cab, and then I'll show you where I went to next. One other thing, I was gonna try and go all the way down like this and follow the map sensor, and that way to make it look a little bit cleaner. But the way that I ended up going through the cab, I needed just a little bit more wire, so I ended up having to come back and cut it loose so I can get a little bit more slack. As you can see, my cable is all the way across the firewall, and then on my driver's side fender, I went straight down. Okay, so that's down the fender, and then if you go a little bit more into the truck, you'll see the frame rail, and right on top of it, you'll see that little grommet. So that's the one that I found, and that's the one that I chose to run all my wires through, because since I have a manual, there's no grommet in the firewall, and I really didn't want to drill a hole, so that's what I ended up using. And it's actually really convenient because that's the EGT Pro. Okay, and now that we're talking about the EGT Pro, it was actually a lot easier to drill and tap than I thought it would be. I started with I believe it was about an 1/8 drill bit, and then stepped it up all the way to 11/32, I believe is what we ended up with. And tapped it with a 1/8 NPT. You should have all these instructions to come with your gauge, so just in case I missed something. But anyways, the only thing you gotta watch out for is that you don't drill it too close to that oil. I believe it's for the oil filter housing where it screws into, so that you don't hit it. But other than that, like I said, you drill it and your wire's just gonna go right up that grommet. Super close. And inside of your truck, that little grommet, it's gonna be pretty much right behind your gas pedal, fuel pedal. I would say somewhere around right here is where you're gonna find it. So you gotta pull back, and there you see some of my wires coming through. But you just gotta pull back your carpet a little bit, and you should see it. And then so basically, I just run my wires down the side, and then up the A pillar, and then to my gauges. Actually, you can sort of see some right there. But anyways, the gauges turned out great. I love them. Let me see. You can see they work. The dimmer works. And I'll show you a little video. I've already recorded it, and I can tell you the audio is not really good. And but you'll be able to see them work. The only thing that I didn't hook up was my fuel pressure, and I'll show you why. From what I've researched, the best place to tap in for the fuel pressure gauge is into your fuel bowl. I'll show you where. So basically, down there in that little cap, and this little cap is where you're gonna put a few fittings into there. But I didn't really want to spend the money or the time or effort to find those fittings, because we're gonna actually delete this fuel bowl here pretty soon. So I just figured that I was just gonna leave this off and run my gauge to the new fuel system, the e-fuel that we're gonna install in this. That should be pretty fun. That's gonna be pretty soon. But anyways, that's why that one's not hooked up. All the other ones are running, and they're working great. My boost is a little low, so I gotta figure out what's going on with that. We also have a lot of things coming for the turbo, so I might have to replace some donut gaskets, or it might just be all the old boots. Okay, but anyways, let me know what boost numbers you guys have seen if you have a stock OBS. Cause I'm really curious. I'm really seeing the max that I saw was about 15 PSI, and I think that's pretty low, or is that normal? So anyways, let me know down in the comments what you guys are seeing. And my truck is basically bone stock. All it has is intake, exhaust, and chip, to my knowledge, anyways. So yeah, let me know what boost numbers are you guys seeing. Okay, guys, so I think that's gonna be it for this video. Thanks for watching. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, and anyways, I'm gonna show you a little bit of a little sneak peek of what we got coming to this truck. We've got all these boxes that still have to go into the truck, and a few other things. Maybe you might be able to see it from over here, maybe? No. But anyways, it's gonna get really fun. So like I said, subscribe and leave a like.